Hey guys, this is Chris James and I'm here today in Los Angeles answering questions for you. So the story behind my latest single, Forever Forever, was when I was in a very intense relationship, and before that I was single for nearly 10 years, obviously because I was busy with my band at the time. So I got into this relationship and I was so in love. I was just besotted with the whole relationship, the situationship. And of course, so I wrote the song with my songwriting partner. And essentially the song is saying that I want this to last forever. We were like best friends and also lovers. And so the sad thing is that we're unfortunately no longer together. So there you have it. That's how I was inspired to write Forever Forever. So what inspired me to be a singer-songwriter was back when I was in school. I remember the first ever school play. The teacher said, we need a singer. And I, at the time, used to be looked after by my uncle who was a singer. And he'd come round to the house every week, play the guitar, and I'd have a little sing with him. And so I volunteered to sing. And it became very apparent then that I was able to sing. And so every single year I was given a singing role in the shows. And of course that then carried on throughout the ages until I am now sitting on this sofa in LA. But I suppose the most monumental time was that I went into a national singing competition in England and won against 15,000 people. And from that moment, that kind of set the stage for me to be a singer in a professional manner. And that's why I'm here today. So a moment that I experienced that made me realize that music was my calling was back in the days when I was in my boy band, The Scheme. Of course, we were just young lads, you know, making music, having a great time. But there was one time where we went and got the opportunity to sing in an arena for the first ever time in Florida. And we did a halftime show and then we opened with the American anthem. And of course, when we opened with the American anthem, we had to do a 3-part harmony because we wanted to kind of make it a bit different from anybody else. And of course, when you've got 25,000 people screaming because you're singing, it gave me such goosebumps across my whole body. And from that moment on, I realized that I really wanted to pursue music and performing especially. So how I approach the songwriting process is generally, I always write. I believe that collaboration is key, and I always write with a songwriting partner who is called Stuart Boyle. He's amazing. We've worked together for well over 10 years. And essentially it will either be I've got an idea or he's got an idea, or maybe we're going through a breakup or we've had a fallout with one of our friends. And so when we get into the studio, it's kind of a question of like, how are you feeling today? Well, I'm feeling like this. Well, that's a boring subject. How are you feeling? Well, actually, I've just had a big argument, or I've just split up with somebody, or actually I'm feeling great today. And so we'll write about that. So essentially, it's always about something that's happened to either me or Stuart. And then if it's more about what's happened to him, we kind of make it more about me. But essentially when we write music, we always try to connect with the listener. And so personally for me, even though I feel as human beings, we all go through the similar kind of situations, I think it's important for me when I'm writing a song to make it very kind of broad so that you can relate to it. So yeah, that's kind of how it comes about. Wow, that's a good question. So creative blocks is something that I kind of get, a lot of people do get, but for me, I've never really experienced it. I suppose when I look at artists like Adele, when you look at the albums that she's done, they're kind of about breakups. She's kind of had a lot of, you know, problems in her relationships, and so she's had a lot to write about in her life. But for me, I always find that there's always something to write about, whether it's a friend or whether it's a situation. I mean, there's nothing more that you can write about than the highs and lows of love and life. So for me, we kind of get into the studio, and if we haven't got anything to write about, Stuart will play a guitar riff, I'll hum some melodies, and then we kind of move from there. Now, of course, if I have got inspiration, like for instance, when I split up with somebody, I'm gonna go into the studio with that focus for a song specifically. But usually we just get in the studio and we just play the guitar, we create some really hooky riffs, and then we write melodies over them, and that's kind of how it goes. And then of course, if it's something that's non-subject, we'll pick a subject and then we'll tailor the song to that. So that's it. So for me, I believe that music is a 2 or 3 or even a 4-minute piece of work that takes you away from the craziness that goes on outside our homes. So at the moment we're experiencing a lot of war and famine, and it's just really sad around the world. So for me, when I write a song, it's almost like a little 3-minute escape for you guys. So I would always hope that the first thing for me is that the music is very positive and it uplifts you and it makes you feel good. It's like me, whenever I'm feeling sad, I'll always play a Beatles record and it's almost like a self-help book. I feel instantly great, you know? So for me, I hope that my music inspires you, motivates you, and on your down days, it lifts you up. Well, I suppose you guys know me very well. I wake up every day with such gratitude in my heart, and I know it sounds cliche, but there's never a time that I wake up, unless obviously there's been a loss in the family or something like a big disaster has happened. But generally, morning in, night out, I've just got such gratitude, and so I wake up always with energy. I always say that your health is your wealth, so the first thing that I do is go to the gym and get the body moving, and you know, the rest is kind of by the by. I just love being here. I'm very grateful for everything that I've got and achieved, and so I don't actually wake up feeling like that unless I'm ill or I've suffered a loss, and that doesn't happen quite often. So yeah, great question, but I don't really know how to answer it. My biggest inspiration and why, I would have to say, is my mother. You know, there is obviously other people that inspire me, my business partners, my friends, but I think my mother, this is not a sob story, but I came from a broken family. My mother picked me up and single-handedly raised me on her own. And so I think when I look at my mother, as you get older, when you're a child and your parents break up and things happen to them, I think as a child, it's a bit exciting because actually you get 2 Christmas presents and you get 2 birthday presents, but actually it's not until you get older that you realize the hurt that your parents would have gone through. So I think for me, watching how my mother picked me up, raised me to the guy that I am today, and is still here fighting fit, she's a very, very big inspiration for me. So Mum, if you're watching, I love you. Mwah.